Well, we would like to extend a warm welcome to all our listeners again this morning to our Trainlang business podcast. And I'm privileged to have my good friend Jonathan with me this morning. Jonathan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very fine. Thank you, Pete. Hope you're fine. Also, just very excited just to do this business podcast with you.
Yeah, very good. It's nice to have you with us. And today, we're going to help our listeners with a little bit about PC vocabulary. And it's good just to mention to our listeners, Jonathan, why it's important for us to be familiar with PC vocabulary. It helps us to communicate effectively. It helps us to understand and use technical terms correctly. And when we do that, we're able to discuss and also solve problems in a better way. When we have problems, troubleshooting is important. We need to know, hey, what's gone wrong with my computer? In order to do that, we need to know relevant PC vocabulary to help us identify and solve the problem more efficiently. And then also when we're reading documents or we're following YouTube tutorials, how to work with a PC computer, we understand the vocabulary that's used. So computers are a part of everyday life, isn't it? We use it all the
Yeah,
time. And so it's important for us to be familiar with PC vocabulary.
that's right. And I think, Pete, also that many of our friends who are learning this or are listening to this podcast, maybe they are looking for a job abroad, or now that there are so many remote workers working for international companies, and they have maybe a remote help with the IT department. They need to know all these words just to express the problem or to solve the problem they have.
Exactly, very good, and that's a very good point. So we really hope that with the podcast this morning, we're going to be able to help our listeners. So let's do that. Let's look at some examples of PC vocabulary. What are we talking about? What are we talking about here, Jonathan? Can you give us a couple of examples?
Yeah. Just for example, a word that or an expression that some people who work on IT might know. It's browse. Just
Mm,
browse to. It means to look through or search for information on the internet using a web browser. For example, a browser would be Chrome, uh, Firefox, or Safari for those who are using Mac.
good.
Another expression is crash. That's something nobody wants.
nobody,
That's,
nobody wants to hear that word.
no, that word it's it's not a good word. No, just my computer is crashed. No, just so when a computer program or system suddenly stops working or shuts down unexpectedly, so that's a crash, and we don't want that. And then, well, I think no, that's this is a very much used word, no, download, to
Mm,
download something, no, so to transfer a file or program from the internet to a computer or to another device.
yeah, excellent. Very good. Some other vocabulary too is a drag, and that's to move an object on the screen by holding the mouse button. And when we're talking about a mouse, we're not talking about a raton, no?
Hmm.
This is something that we use on the computer. We drag something across the screen or we put it into another folder. Drag. Another one very similar is click and drag. So you select an object on the computer screen, and then by holding down the mouse button, you move it to a new location. So we say click and then drag. Another one, also log on. Okay, they say open up your computer, start up your computer, and then you need to log on. In other words, we need to enter our username, our password in order to gain access to a computer or an online service. We always hear that expression often, you need to log on first.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
very good. Yeah,
Any
yeah,
others that you can think of?
yeah. For example, post. No, when you publish or share a content online, no, so you post something. For example, in social media or in a forum, you post something. Okay. A general a word that that always works. No, if you have a problem with a computer, restart.
Mm.
Just that's a magical magical word, no?
And it works, eh? For some
and
reason, it works.
it works, no? I think that's one of the first questions that maybe an IT developer or just someone who works on computer asks you: have you restarted your system? No, so
Yeah.
then that means no to shut down and then start a computer or program again.
Good.
That's another word. And then just we mentioned just about post something, but also upload. No? So when you transfer a file or a program from a computer to or device to the internet, no? Now it's you, the one who is uploading something to the system.
Good. Excellent. Very good. So those were some just 9 words that we
Mhm.
can use, and it's amazing once you know them and you understand what they mean. It's really your conversation. You can use these words, and you can really get a lot of assistance when working with a PC. Now, it's also interesting, Jonathan. What we can do is we can help our listeners also understand how we can use some of these words as verbs. We can use some of them as nouns.
Mhm.
Can you give us? Can you give us our listeners a few examples there?
Yeah, for example, not just the verb to access, no, to access, no. So when it's used on IT, it means entering and using a computer or a website or an application.
Good.
So I don't know, just a sentence, no, that we could include this verb. No, this is a shared computer only for the use of our department. You can get the password from me if you need to access it.
Good.
So if you need to access the verb, and then just as a noun, access refers to the act of accessing the computer. And this is used with the verb grant, no,
Good.
to mean give permission. So a sentence with that, no. I'm afraid we can't grant anyone access to our department's computer. So we
Mm,
have access as a verb and access as a noun.
excellent. Very good. So, Jonathan, you explained that so well. Do you mind talking about backup? How can we use backup
Mm.
as a phrasal verb? Can you give us some examples there?
Yeah, that's a phrasal verb, and it's also used on IT, and it means making a copy of data, no? or files. So usually that's something we all need. So friends, if you haven't done a backup on your computer, do it now. It's something that is needed.
Good
So,
advice.
so for example, no, it's always a good idea to back up your computer regularly. We have to remember that this is a separable phrasal verb, and it can be used with the pronoun.
Good.
For
Excellent.
example, my laptop has been switching itself on and off. I think I'd better back it up after work tonight. So, friends, remember that when we talk about separable phrasal verbs, we can only use the pronoun between.
Mm,
Between, all right. So we wouldn't say, I think I better back up it. So it's the pronoun always needs to go in between. Okay. And backup, when it's spelled as one word, is a noun. So, and here it refers to copy of files or data. So on the sample sentence, we could say the system administrator does a full backup of the system every weekend.
oh, excellent. Well, this was really great, Jonathan, and thank you for clarifying the phrasal verbs. I really enjoy using phrasal verbs in conversation. It makes a conversation richer, and if we know how to use them, it's really great for conversation. So thanks very much for clarifying that point for us. So to benefit our listeners, Jonathan, why don't we do a role play? Let's do
Sounds
let's
good.
do a let's do a role play together. And yeah, let me just perfect. All right, so not a long one. You ready to start there, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'm ready to start. So, hey, Pete, can you help me with my PC? I think it's having some issues.
Sure, Jonathan. Can you tell me what seems to be the problem?
Well, I was trying to download a new program, and I think I accidentally deleted some important files. Now my computer won't start up.
It sounds like you might have deleted some system files. Did you try restarting in safe mode?
Safe mode. No, I'm not really sure how to do that, Pete.
Yeah, no problem. Uh, when you turn on your PC, you start tapping the F8 key until you see a menu. Okay. And then from there, you should be able to select safe mode.
Okay, so we lost our friend Pete for a moment, but anyway, that was a good way just to do this role play. He just was explaining how to use this safe mode. So, friends, we will conclude this podcast just reviewing few words from this role play. So there are a few examples of different types of grammar. Hi, Pete. Just nice to have you back. I was explaining to friends that we were going to explain the grammar in the role play.
Good.
So I was starting just explaining, that there are a few examples of different types of grammar. For example, declarative sentences, statements that simply state a fact or idea. So the person, in my case, my role play said, I think it's having some issues. So this is a declarative sentence.
Very good.
Because it's a statement or a fact. And then there are also interrogative sentences, which are questions. So, for example, I ask you, can you help me with my PC? What seems to be the problem? So both of this are interrogative sentences.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for explaining that, Jonathan. I also noticed another type of grammar that appears here in the role play is what we refer to in English as imperatives. Now, we know that imperatives are commands or requests. So in our role play, you didn't use any imperatives, but I did when I said, start tapping the F8 key. Okay, so that is an imperative. That's a request. Okay. Other examples in grammar was conditional sentences. And remember, when we use conditional sentences in English, it's really expressing like a hypothetical situation and the resulting consequence too. So when I said it sounds like you might have deleted some system files, okay, I was using a conditional because I was saying that if you did delete some files, then that would explain the problem with the computer. So we can really see how in conversation with English, we can use different tenses in explaining certain things, especially with regard to PC vocabulary.
That was very interesting, Pete. So thank you very much.
So again, for our listeners, it's really important to know PC vocabulary. We can troubleshoot technical issues. We can make informed decisions when it comes to making purchases with computers. And I'm sure that this is really going to help them a lot. So, Jonathan, thank you very much. So, if we want our listeners to come and have a lesson with you, where can they go? What is the story here?
Well, just they can come and visit www.campus.trainlang.com, and there they will find you, me, Matthew, Stefan, and others, Eileen, just to learn English with us. You're more than welcome, friends.
Very good. Excellent. So thank you very much, Jonathan, for your assistance this morning. As always, great having you with us, and we hope that our listeners have a good day.
Bye, amigos.
Bye.